a long time, and I've seen a lot of changes. I mean, patterned leggings and flower crowns used to be a thing. But now there's COVID-19 and the fashion world is at a crossroads. You've seen the headlines of the big retailers declaring bankruptcy or going out of business. But actually, some of my friends in the fashion world are not just surviving, but thriving. And that led me to wonder, what's happening? Well, what I found was frankly kind of surprising. Let's start with Michael Fisher. He's a fashion trendcaster, so basically he tries to predict what the future holds for the industry. He was also a buyer at Barney's, so I figured he'd have some good insights.
I think one of the most interesting things that has come out of the last 6 months is that this has kind of been the forced reset that everyone has been craving for years.
What does a forced reset actually look like? Well, first of all, the fashion industry puts out more than 4 seasons of clothing a year. It actually puts out 6. Fall, winter, spring, summer, resort, and pre-collection. Now, also throw in a couple bridal seasons. This may mean a lot of choices for you, but it also leads to a lot of waste.
It's really crazy. Most of what was not being purchased, a lot of people think that it just goes to, all of these, off-price retailers, but really it's the opposite. A lot of it goes into waste piles that, of course, go into landfills. You would be surprised if you knew how much fabric and finished goods that brands actually get rid of every single season. It's really, really crazy and really sad.
So why not just mark it down?
It's kind of been a secret for years that, of course, designers really don't want to mark down goods to a certain point just because it kind of tarnishes their brand. The brand equity really suffers at a certain point.
So here's how it worked before the pandemic. A designer presents their clothing line to a department store who puts in an order. If they don't sell enough through, the designer has to buy that stuff back and dispose of it. Now enter COVID and an economic collapse. High-end evening wear designer Emily Burnett and many of her colleagues suddenly had millions of dollars worth of orders canceled.
As a designer, you're left with the manufacturing cost, the cost of the fabrics, the cost of the team that put it together. So sort of everything was kind of just put back on our laps. So that was definitely a challenging situation.
So now what does she do? Emily had to change her way of doing business very quickly.
For our business, being evening wear focused, that was really challenging as well. We also needed to be really just aware and relevant and thinking about who the woman is that's wearing our clothes and where is she going now and how can we dress her for what's happening right now. So we took a lot of our evening wear kind of go-to fabrics and turned them into blouses.
There's always a need for blouses, but how do you dress millions of people who are suddenly working from home? Designer sweatpants? Nancy Volpe Berenger was a semi-finalist in the most recent season of Project Runway, and for her, she had to ponder this question when starting her fashion business.
I can get emotional just thinking about it. It's like I gave everything to be a fashion designer. I left my career at the pinnacle of success. I had been a single parent. I had worked 3, 4, sometimes 5 jobs. So I know what it's like, and I finally made it, financially secure. And I walked away to realize this dream, my destiny of being a fashion designer. And then here I am at the top of the world, ready to take it over, and the pandemic hit. So it's scary.
So Nancy adapted.
So I launched last night. Within 10 minutes, 2 of my top ensembles, three-piece ensembles, sold out. I'm doing so many virtual podcasts and meetings. I meet with my team every day in my work clothes. But if I want to have a business meeting, I call them virtual capelets, collars. And this easily, I have transformed my look. And I have them for day, for business, for dressy.
And of course, there's a big market for masks.
A 3-pack of face masks are $40. So we have introduced a whole new subset of people that really needed masks, and then they were introduced to the collection.
That's designer Lily Saduki. She's been designing accessories for 20 years and launched her brand 8 years ago. And she's seeing her business grow. You may have seen these popular statement headbands in the past. Well, they are even more popular in this pandemic. Maybe it's all those video conference calls where you can only see your head.
Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Part of her secret to success seems to be directly connecting with her customer.
We're growing, and we have been continued to grow even throughout the pandemic. Social media has been a really big part of communicating with, we like to call her Ladies of Lily. And this is really the first time that I experimented with Instagram Live. And I can't believe I had not done it 5 months ago, and now it's second nature. And it really, really has been resonating, and we've been continuing to do it these past few months. And I think it's really brought together such a community.
And there's good reason for that.
Always, if you track back in the history of fashion, anytime that there's a moment of economic downturn, where there's war, anything that's basically not good, you'll always see sales of clothing kind of decrease and accessories increase. And the reason for that, accessories make us feel good. It gives us a pop of color. It gives us some kind of quirk and whimsy in our outfit.
Lily thinks there may be another reason. Less waste.
Accessories can last and live a lot longer than some ready-to-wear lines, and some specifically print ready-to-wear lines. And if you look on our site right now, we don't tie things to seasons. And I think that's the shift, what's happening right now.
Emily says this fashion calendar shakeup is here to stay. And that will have a big impact on how you shop.
Already, major designers have made the decision to just switch to the spring and fall season, which we are also going to follow that. I think the fashion calendar and the CFDA have been really struggling with this for a long time to see like what the appropriate dates are, and also you're showing summer in the fall and fall in the spring, and it's sort of like, you know, a little further away from, you know, when the customer receives the garment that it's on the shop floor. So basically, huge designers are shifting to just doing the spring and fall collection. And I think they've wanted to, and this sort of like push to cancel resort sort of pushed them into that way of thinking.
If this kind of 6 collections a year waste actually becomes a thing of the past after this pandemic, the fashion world is going to look completely different. Famed top model Anak Yai was able to chat with me from Vicenza, Italy, where she's still working during the pandemic. She says fashion industry waste has never sat well with her.
We're slowly becoming more eco-friendly, and I'm really happy about that, but at the same time, we tend to use a lot of the world's resources that we don't really have to.
So what's going to happen to the trends we've seen season to season? Anak is usually ahead of the trends. She says she imagines a big slowdown for all.
There was like a show like every 2 months, and the shows were constant and the collections were constantly coming in, so trends were always changing. But now that there's less output from the designers, I feel like the trends are gonna last longer.
The fashion world has been trying to move away from fast fashion since before the pandemic, but it seems like that move has been accelerated. And it looks like going forward, consumers will be looking for more practical trends and not just chasing what's hot for the moment.
I think you'll see a big focus on fabric, smarter textiles, things that are antimicrobial perhaps, because there's going to be this huge kind of moment talking about, germaphobes. You're going to see way less collections that designers are going to put out per year. Probably there will be less of a moment where we're talking about print and pattern, and it will be really focused on color and what fabrics and textiles can actually do for us.
And if that's the case, the seasonal disposal of clothing may become obsolete, which sounds like a win for designers, consumers, and, well, the planet.